And a whole lot to sift through. Curtis Strange, Andy North have been with us throughout the morning. Paul Azinger has joined our company. And guys, this is when I'm happy to be in the happiest, I should say, to be in the company of major champions, guys who've had rules that were brought to your attention after the fact that cost you. And Paulie, this is your first crack at it on television with us. We've been sitting here for the last hour trying to read through this, and it feels really vague and really gray. They looked at it, they thought it was all right, and then only after the fact, with what he said, they come to this conclusion. What do you make of it?
Well, there's a couple key phrases or a couple key things that have happened here. First of all, close proximity is what I believe, after they received the viewer call-in, is what they went off of. I'm sure they could see the divot when they reviewed this. And they were doing this review while Tiger was still competing. He was on the 18th hole, according to their statement. They made their decision based on close proximity, which is going to be kind of generalized now. When Tiger, in his own words, after the round said, I purposely moved 2 yards further back. Now they're dealing with new information. And because they're dealing with the new information, everything's changed. The whole dynamic of this has changed. They ruled before he finished there was no penalty based on close proximity. When they find out that he purposely went 2 yards back, now they're dealing with this information that says he violated the rule. So breaking this rule has shifted them to Rule 33.7, which is the new rule now, where Tiger is protected based on call-in. And, it's gray. And my fear is that the committee will do it because they're human, based on personalities. Do they like this guy? Is he going to drive a rating? Or do we not care because we don't like it? That's something that's worth.
Well, that's your fear.
Fear.
Okay, but what do you think?
Well, I think this committee's made a decision based on the initial rule, which was a call-in viewer. This is a rule to protect the players. Finally, we have a rule that protects the players and doesn't stick it to them.
Would have helped a while back, right?
It would have helped me because I got disqualified from Doral based on a call-in for moving a loose impediment and a hazard. My ball was in the water. Both my feet were in the water. There was a big rock under my foot, and I shoved it out of the way, hit the ball 20 feet. And shot 65 the next day, and I was DQ'd based on moving a loose impediment and a hazard and signing for a wrong card. What Tiger's done based on the two-shot penalty was sign for a wrong card. Based on Rule 33 now, he's protected, and I actually like the fact that he's protected.
Guys, go ahead, Eddie.
I like the fact that this rule's been put in so that when a player signs his card and something is brought to the attention of the committee after that fact, he's not disqualified for signing a bad card. That's what this is about. So they can go back now, give him the penalty, and he plays, which if he, at the time he knew he was going to receive that penalty, he'd have added it and he'd have signed the proper card. It's all about the signing of the card. That's what I like about this new rule. Now, as Paul said, there's some gray areas in here.
Well, because they received new information, I believe their initial ruling was based on the phrase close proximity.
And they felt that it was, but when
close enough.
So, and that's what I find interesting, Curtis, is that they looked at it. They thought it's okay based on it looked close enough to them, but when he says 2 yards, so what I'm wondering is it his language? Does his own language box him in?
See, that is a bit disturbing to me because there you see it's 4 or 5 feet. He says 2 yards, so they made to me, an improper ruling by saying it was okay to start with.
Okay.
So then he went to the press room, said he went back 2 steps to possibly, in some people's opinion around here, gain an advantage to get a proper yardage. We'll never know that. I don't know if you gain an advantage only going 2 yards back or not. I wasn't that good. But, but whatever the case is, he didn't drop as close as possible as he could from where he hit it from. Rule break number 1.
Okay.
And so now what do you do? Did he do it intentionally? No. He did it unintentionally. He broke a rule, and that's where the 37.4/ whatever comes into effect. And as Paul said, and Andy said, it was put into effect to protect the player because when you look at it on tour, it is a very kind of unfair, uneven playing field out there because you have 156 players every week playing over 180 acres. Some players are on camera every shot. Some players are never on camera. And we do have the call-ins. Some think that's fair, some not. But we do have the call-ins of people who possibly broke the rules. Tiger broke the rules yesterday. It gives him a 2-stroke penalty. I think that's penal enough.
There are colleagues of ours in our business, good friends, guys you competed against, Nick Faldo of the Golf Channel, among others, who are saying he should disqualify himself. I wonder how you would react to Nick's thought that, this penalty isn't enough, and that now that he knows that he broke this rule, and there was a situation years ago, Bay Hill, Jeff Sluman went out and realized, what, I took a drop and it was improper, and he disqualified himself. If you're Tiger, is that what you do?
Well, Tiger's playing under two rules. He's been assessed the penalty for making the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
He then signed the wrong card based on a mistake he was unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now going under another rule, 33.7, which is now a new rule based on 2012. So he's being penalized by one rule, and he's using the new rule to stay in the field.
David,
I think you have to take the emotion out of this. And I think when Nick Faldo or any of the analysts here this week, all over the map, all over the world, I've already had, text dozens, and the emotions and the opinions are all over the world. And I think if Nick Faldo says something like that, as great a champion as he was, would he have disqualified himself? I don't know. So,
you know what?
I think
change is hard. Change is hard for all of us. And listen, this has been the rule for hundreds of years. If you sign the wrong card, you're out. He signed the wrong card based on a two-shot penalty that they had to assess. He actually signed the right card.
Go ahead, Andy.
But they had to add two shots to make his card incorrect.
When he signed the card, it was correct. After the fact, it became incorrect.
By their own review.
That's exactly
by their own
right.
review.
And the key is, because of this new rule, he is able to continue playing.
All right, let's spin this forward, guys. I mean, Reilly alongside. And Rick, first things first, how do you react to the statement, which in a sense implies that they looked at this video, right, thought fine
while he was playing?
Correct.
18, right.
It appeared to them that he dropped it near enough, but then his own language and a phone call about that language about 2 yards back then prompts them to go back and think, well, wait a minute, we have a problem. Then he's protected by a rule meant to protect those from committing a violation you couldn't know you committed. What do you think of all this?
It's a little sketchy. How do you look at that video and say, yeah, that drop's pretty good? It was 5 feet behind where he was supposed to drop.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, to look at that video was a little crazy and say that was fine. But they did, and apparently they said to him in the scoring room, you're fine, we looked at it, sign your card and go. Then, one of the craziest things I've ever seen is that his interview hung him when he said to Tom Rinaldi and us, hey, I hit it from 2 yards farther back, because he literally said, I didn't want to hit the pin again. Well, that is taking an advantage. But the question is, did he do it on purpose? No way. I will believe to my dying day that he didn't knowingly violate that rule. A cheater off the course? Yes, we know that. A cheater on? No, I'll never believe it.
And in the fog of the moment, you're in competition. If he makes birdie there, he leads. And is it possible that given, as Andy North talked about, the thickness of the rule book and the interpretations of it, that perhaps he confuses 26-1 and what he should do and where the line was? Perhaps that's what happens.
Sure.
But as Paul Azinger said a little bit earlier, his reaction as a major champion was that this rule, if Tiger were to withdraw, as some would suggest he should do, that it would gut the intent of this rule, which is to protect the player. We live in a world
exactly. The whole out there right now, Scott, people are trying to get him to withdraw. And my point is, why? They told him at the scoring table, you're fine. So because he has 30 million viewers who can review everything he does, he should be the one to withdraw. He's not going to withdraw out of a sense of embarrassment.
Well, we take